Hi, I'm Mike Krzyzewski. I'm the head basketball coach, head men's basketball coach at Duke University. It's an honor for me to spend time with some real heroes. The nurses of North Carolina are doing an unbelievable job in helping us during this war. For years, 45 years, I've been a head coach, and I also was at my alma mater as head coach, West Point. So I've been in the military, never been in combat, but I was in the military as an officer for 5 years. And basically, what you all are doing is remarkable. You've dedicated your lives to the service and care of people, and you do that in a magnificent way. I've had so much great treatment at the Duke Medical Center, 2 hips replaced, 2 knees replaced. My wife wants something to do with my head. I won't let her do that. And but also for heart catheterizations and things like this. And always was amazingly impressed with the teamwork and the professionalism of our medical teams, and especially the nurses. And now you all are you're in a position where you're on the front lines, really. You're fighting an enemy that has never been on this planet before, and you're doing it in a magnificent way. And you're doing it also knowing that being on the front lines, takes a lot of courage. You have to be brave, but then you go home with your families, and there's fear. There's no question. Courage is facing fear and doing what you're supposed to do. You've done that every day. And it hasn't been just at your workplace. It's been when you come home. And so I can imagine, actually it's pretty hard to imagine just how physically, mentally, and emotionally you're exhausted. Because you also are placed in a position where in that moment where a person is no longer going to live, they are not able to share it with their family members. You have taken the place of doing that. So it's absolutely incredible. And I've loved coaching and being in locker rooms with courageous, talented, trained basketball players. For me to spend some time this afternoon talking to your team is an honor. And thank you. I have 10 grandchildren, 3 daughters and their families. We all thank you. We all thank you for the job you're doing. So I'm going to spend some time with you this afternoon, and I hope I can help you. I feel frustrated because I don't know how to help you, and you all deserve it. You deserve it. You're amazing. So if we can move on, and I'll try to do the best I can, because I know you're doing the best you can in an incredible situation.
Great. Thanks so much, Coach K. This is Tina Gordon. I'm the CEO of the North Carolina Nurses Association, and we're just proud to have Coach K with us today to share some motivation and encouragement with our nurses across the state during a challenging time. I've got a few questions here that some of our members sent in that we'd like to ask. So for starters, NCNA member Janice Humphreys from Durham, she tells us that she thinks nurses are the ultimate team players. What do you think makes a great team player?
Well, Janice, thank you. That's a great question. I would say that you're not just the team players, great team, but you're a point guard. You all are point guards. You assist everybody. You're giving assists to everybody. And if a point guard is a team player, then you take the team to an even higher level. A team player is really someone who will do whatever the team needs at the moment it needs to be done. They're selfless. They're courageous. They don't want any type of recognition. They're there at the moment you need them. And they always show up. But again, you're more than team players. And being a team player is great. But you're right now, you're one of the most valuable players. And I call you point guards. Point guards are the ones who are sharing the ball, giving assists, and they make everyone look better. And you all have done that before this crisis, before this war, and now you're doing it, and it's even more important.
That's awesome, and I know you've coached some pretty awesome point guards. So
We
if our
have,
nursing team can be one of your point guards, we'll take it. We've also got a question from NCNA member Connie Bishop from Gibsonville. She wants to know, what do you do to motivate the team when your team is overwhelmed but still needs to perform?
Connie, that's another great question, and I know you all feel overwhelmed maybe daily. And so this is the time where you really need to be a team. I'm going to take a little bit longer in answering this question because I think I'm going to share with you something I've shared with teams for 45 years, including the 11 years I was the coach of our U.S. team with all the great players, LeBron, Kobe, and all those guys. And we basically wanted to play as one. And in a basketball team, there are 5 players, just like the 5 fingers on your hand. And a lot of times, groups function where only 2 of the players are functioning or 1, but the goal is to have all 5 become a fist, become 1. 2 is better than 1 if 2 can act as 1. Imagine if 5 can act as 1 in a basketball team, but imagine if all of you can act as 1 no matter what's happening. And so I'm going to talk about quickly each finger. The first finger is the ability to communicate, tell the truth in the situation you're in. You need the truth in a moment's notice. Yeah, you need communication, and you need to look each other in the eye and tell each other the truth. And what happens then is you develop the second finger, and that's trust. Trust. If you communicate the truth and trust, then the third finger is care. And you have each other's back. You care for one another. Before you can care for a patient, you need to care for one another. The fourth finger is understanding collective responsibility. It's not just on you. It's on everybody to win. We win and we lose together. And the fifth finger is pride. Pride is being a part of something bigger than you. Wow, you are. And so in those situations where it's overwhelming, I stress the fist. And in today's social, where you wouldn't, you can't touch one another and you don't want to and all that. And what we would do in a situation like that, we would put our fists together as one, and we would say, together, we are going to be one, and together we are going to win. What I would do, and I've told our healthcare providers that do, as a team, have a team meeting before and after your shift. And I know your shifts are more and they're rigorous, but at the end of the meeting or at the beginning of the meeting, right here on your heart, we're going to play as one today. We're going to be one. And then at the end, I get chills thinking of it. At the end, look at one another in the eye. We did it. We were one. And you know what? We're going to come back tomorrow and we're going to be one, and we're going to be better because of being one today. That's what I would do, Connie.
That's great. And I know nurses really feel the need to work together. That's really the only way we're going to get through this. So thank you. We've also got a question from Carly in Raleigh. She talks about through college and nursing school, nurses have mentors. She wants to know what it was like for you to play for Coach Bob Knight and then join his staff after your playing career.
Well, Carly, one of my granddaughters is Carly, so that makes me smile. Thank you for the question. I learned a lot from Coach Knight because I was also his point guard and captain of his team at West Point. And I learned primarily preparation. great preparation before you actually performed, and also about how high a level of emotion you could get to. And then I saw how he did it at that time in our society, in that was in the 60s and in the 70s, and where how you led and how you talked and how you interacted with your team was a little bit different then than it is now. I will tell you, though, that the biggest mentors in my life are my 3 daughters and my wife. We've been married 50 years. We got married on graduation day. And I was in a man's world. My older brother, my only brother, died 6 years ago. He's a captain in the Chicago Fire Department. And then I went to all boys school. West Point was all boys. The military was mostly all men. And having my wife, we've been partners. I learned a lot. And I learned from my daughters a woman's perspective. And it's made me better. And I thank them. Not every day, because then they'd get big heads, and they know how to use that stuff too. So I don't want them to feel too good, but they also know that I love them and I listen to them. I listen to them even sometimes while I'm watching Sports Center over their right shoulder.
That's great. We've also got a question from one of our members, Lauren in Fuquay Varina. She wants to know, during your coaching career, who was the coach that you've had the most trouble game planning for?
Well, Lauren, thanks for the question. You know what? I never coach against another coach, because I don't want that to be the reason I'm coaching, to beat another coach. I coach against that coach's team, but I don't really care what my record is against another guy. I care what our record is at the end of the year. And over Tina's shoulder, I care about those 5 things up there. And they don't say that you beat a certain team or a certain school or a certain coach. You don't put up banners for beating an individual. You put up a banner because you're a championship team and you prepare for everybody. I don't even pay attention and look at the other guy. And sometimes I've had to coach against my former players or assistants, and that's not a good thing.
All right, we've got a question from Lewis. He's thinking back to the '92 tournament and the wins against Kentucky and Indiana, and then defeating the Fab Five to win it all that year. He wants to know some of your memories about how grueling that stretch of games was for you and your team, and maybe there's some parallels to what we're doing right now.
Well, it was our second national championship, and we won in '91 with a lot of those same players. So the fact that you were successful in handling situations in a very difficult time, that's what I meant earlier. Sometimes the most grueling day that you have, and you're successful in it and you celebrate it, can help you go to the next grueling day. And where you say, well, we did that. We know how to do that. And basically, in the Kentucky game, it's one of the great games ever. We are the #1 team in the country, and Kentucky had a lot of seniors, and Rick Pitino, an amazing coach. And the game went into overtime, and we were ahead by 1 point. They hit a like a 12-foot shot right from just below the free throw line and banked it in. And he didn't even call it. And at that time, the clock didn't stop in that last minute of the game or overtime. So our guys had the presence of mind to call a quick timeout. So just like in your world, saving precious seconds or tenths of seconds are important. As they were 2.1 seconds to go, and as they walked off the court, look, at West Point, I was taught that you're supposed to win. And sometimes as a leader, say what the situation requires, not necessarily what you feel at that point. And sometimes you will talk into action. In other words, I didn't know if we really were going to win, but I met them at kind of half court, and I said, looked in their eyes, like I said about the fist, and I said, we're going to win. And then when they got on the bench, I looked at them, I said, we are going to win. And then I also had a chance, then I'm talking myself into it, but also I'm looking at my group, just like you all can look at your teams. And I got Bobby Hurley there, the best point guard in the country. I got Grant Hill, the best players in the country. I got Christian Leitner, who's the best player in the country. You know, maybe we could do this, you know. In other words, you look at your personnel, you don't just look at the situation. And then sometimes asking somebody to do something will help them do it. So I asked Grant Hill, I said, can you take it out of bounds? Can you throw the ball 75 feet? And he said, yes, I can. Now, it's not the first time he did that, but he will even tell you that once he said it, he had a better chance of doing it. And then I said to Leitner, I said, if I bring you up from the baseline to the free throw line, I'm going to have Grant try to throw you the ball. Can you catch it? And before I stopped, he said, Coach, if Grant throws a good pass, I'll catch it. All right. And so now you had not just me talking, but holy mackerel, we got the whole group talking. So a lot, yeah. And then Grant threw it. Christian caught it. He dribbled it, which was heart-stopping. But he also knew he had time to dribble because the clock didn't start until he shot it. And I knew it was going to be in. And he was 20 for 20 in that game. 10 for 10 from the free throw line and 10 for 10 from the floor. And then in the Final Four, we had to face my former coach, Bob Knight, in Indiana. And that was kind of a crazy thing to do, and we're both going for a national championship. But we were able to win. And then we played the Fab Five that we had kind of a rivalry with. They were like the up and coming new wave. And we were, I don't know who we were, but we were the defending national champs and more of traditional. And but our guys, really did a good job against them. It was like the experience. We won by 20. But an interesting thing happened in that game. Leitner, who had hit the shot against Kentucky, won every award that week. We depended so much on him. He was emotionally fried. And in the first half of that game, he threw the ball more to Michigan than the Fab Five than he did to us. And we tried all different kinds of things. I brought him over. I subbed him. I said, are you okay? I am okay. He went back. He wasn't okay. He came back. I yelled at him. You okay? Yeah. He came back. I'm not okay. Then I had teammates talk to him, and nothing worked. And at halftime, because Leitner, this is an important point. At halftime, I reamed them. I got on and I left the locker room, and usually it was Leitner who would take control of the locker room, but he was quiet. And Hurley stood up and he said, listen, Leitner, Christian, you're always talking about us being like, get your head right. He told them in a different way than that. And we need you. In the second half, after about 10 minutes, at a timeout, we actually called a play for him. He still was not out of it. And then all of a sudden, Bobby's talk and all that we did, he was magnificent in the last 10 minutes of the game. And so you all have people on your team that are going through all this. That's that one of those fingers. Care. Have each other's back. Even if it's the best player, they get down. Jog them. Hit them with the fist. you can't hug and all, but make each other better. And really, there's so many parallels. And we were only playing a darn basketball game. I mean, it's for the national title, and it doesn't even compare to what you all are doing. It doesn't compare. And so you need to do this stuff even more. And I'll tell you what, when you do it, like even explain, I get chills thinking about it, because you will too. And you know what? You need to know what you're doing is so damn important. Don't take it for granted. Like you all are stud competitors, man. Stud competitors.
Great. That's awesome. We've got another question here from Michaela in Durham. She tells us about her grandfather, who's been a baseball coach since the early 70s. And her grandfather had the opportunity to coach her brother, his grandson, and then hire him on to his staff. So Michaela wants to know, what was it like to coach your grandson this year?
Well, it's sensational. Michael is my oldest daughter's second son, and we have 10 grandchildren. And an interesting thing, we had a meeting. Hopefully, I don't know if we'll be able to do it this year. We usually start second session of summer school in July and start training and whatever. And in late June, I had Michael come up to my office, and I said, let's sit down. And I said, this isn't, a grandfather to grandson talk. This is a coach to player talk. And I'm called Poppy, Poppy. And my wife is called Minnie by our grandkid. I said, Michael, no Poppy. No Poppy. It's got to be coach all the time. You got it? And he said, yeah. And so we've actually developed a really coach-player relationship. Now, I redshirted him this year so that, eventually maybe he'll go to graduate school here at Duke. And he's not a bad player. If we have, he's not Zion or Trey Jones but you know what? He has earned his stuff on the team, and it's great. It's not good. It's great for us to be able to have that relationship.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. We've got one last question from NCNA member Alyssa in Raleigh. As you know, nurses are often battling adversity and pressure. So tell us how you handle adversity and pressure, and how do you relay that calmness and confidence to your players?
Well, you bring up a great point, and just remember, and it's Alyssa. Yeah. Alyssa, you are doing it in life and death situations. My stuff doesn't get to that level. Mine is the pressure of winning a game and all that kind of stuff. And yours goes to the deepest, the highest level. And so don't do it alone. One of the things I've learned a lot from going to West Point, the United States Military Academy, and an honor code and all that kind of stuff. But two important things was failure is never your destination. In other words, as you move along, whenever you're knocked down, you're not put on this earth to stay on the ground. You're put on this earth to get up and succeed. And along with that, don't succeed alone. Be on a team. And so in these moments, do not be alone. And when you get tired and stressed, emotionally, physically, mentally tired, we all as human beings have a tendency to grow inward. You don't do it. And don't let a teammate do it. And what you find is basically you're kind of knocked down. Get up and allow a teammate to pick you up. Whether it's verbal or physical. Don't be hard-headed and say, I'm just going to do this alone. You will not do it alone to the level or to the frequency that you are capable of if you decide to do it alone. You got a better chance of winning every day if you do it as a group. And you all are so darn tough. You know what? The other aspect of this, when this is all over, how good and how tough you all have been. And you know what I hope all of you healthcare providers do is, once this is over, is to come back as an association and say, okay, we needed this before from our country, from everyone. This is what we need going forward. And you know what? You'll get it. You'll get it. In other words, how do we take care of this? What do we learn from it? And then how do we do it better? Remember, let's take care of this like you are. But when it's over, don't just, it's over. Even now, jot down things. Do after action reports, even after a shift that you have. Boy, we did this. If we had that, that would have been better. If we coordinated this way, it would have been better. You know, one thing about a team, you keep learning from competition. You're in big time competition right now. And let's win, let's learn, let's get better. And listen, God bless all of you. God bless all of you. Just know that we're pulling for you. And also in your private life, when you go, if there's a neighbor or somebody who can help you with health care, groceries, mowing your lawn, taking your garbage out, whatever, you know, call. Let people know. We don't know what to do. We don't, and we don't know what we're able to do. I know when I leave here, I'm going to put on my mask, wash my hands. I keep away from everybody, and you know that's something we can do. But if there's anything else, let your fans know, because I'm a big fan.
Thanks, Coach K. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your time just to share some of your thoughts with nurses, to cheer them on, and to help us recognize the hard work that they're doing every day. Any final thoughts before we close down this awesome interview?
Yeah, no, you know, look, this is no baloney or BS. It's an honor to talk to all of you. Yeah, God bless you, Godspeed, and keep battling for us. Keep battling for us. We're behind you all the way.